The Wyoming Territory in 1876 was a land of raw promise and hidden peril, where the wind carried whispers of gold, betrayal, and forgotten dreams across endless plains. Orville Banks, a traveling merchant of 42, had spent 2 decades crisscrossing the frontier, peddling pots, fabrics, and dreams to settlers hungry for both. His wagon, a creaking relic painted with faded promises of Banks' Emporium, goods for all, was his home, his horse Mabel his only steady companion. Orville was a wiry man with a weathered face, graying hair tucked under a battered hat, and eyes that had seen too much to believe in luck. Yet, when he heard of a derelict house for sale in the shadow of the Bighorn Mountains for just $1, curiosity tugged at him like a loose thread. The auction was held in Bitter Creek, a speck of a town with a saloon, a general store, and ambitions of becoming more. The house, 10 miles out, was described as a fixer-upper by the land agent, a weaselly man named Pritchard with a grin too wide for trust. Abandoned years ago, Pritchard said, fanning himself with a deed. Owner vanished. Taxes unpaid. Yours for $1, no questions asked. The crowd, mostly prospectors and drifters, laughed it off. $1 was cheap, but a house that far out, likely crumbling, wasn't worth the ride. Orville, though, had $1 to spare and a nagging sense that fate was winking at him. He handed over the coin, took the deed, and set out at dawn, Mabel pulling the wagon along a rutted trail. The house stood alone on a windswept rise, framed by jagged peaks and sagebrush. It was a 2-story structure of warped timber and peeling paint, its windows like empty eyes staring at the horizon. The roof sagged, the porch creaked underfoot, but the bones seemed solid enough. Orville tethered Mabel, his boots crunching on gravel as he approached. The door hung ajar, creaking in the breeze. He expected cobwebs, broken furniture, maybe a raccoon or two. Instead, a faint hum greeted him, a woman's voice, singing softly. He froze, hand on the knife at his belt. "Hello?" he called, his voice rough from disuse. The singing stopped. Silence, then the scuff of footsteps. A woman stepped into the doorway, her presence startling as a deer in a clearing. She was perhaps 30, with auburn hair braided loosely, green eyes sharp with caution, and a faded calico dress. She held a broom like a weapon. "Who are you?" she demanded. "Orville Banks, ma'am. I bought this place. Got the deed right here." He patted his coat pocket, wary of her grip on the broom. Her eyes narrowed. "Bought it? I'm Clara," the first woman said. "This here's Ruth," she nodded to the older woman, "and Sadie." The younger one gave a hesitant wave. "We've been living here 2 years. Ain't nobody told us about no sale." Orville scratched his jaw, sensing a tangle. "Pritchard sold it to me fair and square. Said it was abandoned." "You got a deed?" Clara's lips tightened. "No deed. We found it empty, fixed it up. It's ours by right of stayin'. The standoff stretched, the wind whistling through gaps in the walls. Orville wasn't one for confrontation, he'd talked his way out of worse with bandits and drunkards, but something about these women stirred him. Their defiance wasn't born of greed but survival. "Mind if I look around?" he asked, softening his tone. "Maybe we sort this out." Clara hesitated, then stepped aside. The interior was modest but clean, a scrubbed table, a hearth with a simmering pot, patched curtains softening the windows. Upstairs, 3 narrow beds lined a room, each with a quilt folded neatly. This wasn't abandonment, it was a home, fiercely kept. Over coffee, bitter but warm, Clara told their story. They were sisters, not by blood but by circumstance. Ruth, a widow, had fled a brutal marriage in Kansas, her husband's death in a bar fight leaving her free but penniless. Clara, a schoolteacher, had lost her position when her employer discovered her aiding runaway slaves before the war. Sadie, orphaned young, had escaped a lecherous guardian in Missouri, hitching rides west until the trio met on a wagon train. They'd found the house empty after its owner, a prospector named Hargrove, vanished, rumored to have chased a gold vein and never returned. They claimed it, repairing what they could, growing a garden, and keeping to themselves to avoid trouble. Orville listened, his merchant's heart softening. He'd seen enough of the frontier's cruelty to know their story rang true. "I ain't here to toss you out," he said finally. "But I paid for this place. Let's figure a way forward." The women exchanged glances. Ruth spoke, her voice gravelly. "You seem decent, Mr. Banks. But we ain't leavin'. What's your aim?" Orville leaned back, the chair creaking. "Truth? I'm tired of the road. Thought this place might be a spot to settle, maybe open a trading post. But I ain't heartless. You've made a home here. Maybe we share it." The idea hung in the air, bold and uncertain. The next weeks were a dance of caution and cooperation. Orville slept in the barn, repairing the roof and patching walls by day. Clara taught him to tend their garden, beans, corn, and herbs thriving against the odds. Ruth, a skilled cook, showed him how to smoke meat, her gruff exterior softening when he praised her venison stew. Sadie, shy at first, opened up, revealing a knack for sewing that turned Orville's worn goods into sellable wares. But the house held secrets beyond its occupants. One evening, while clearing a collapsed shed, Orville found a tin box buried under a floorboard. Inside were letters, yellowed and brittle, addressed to "My daughters," from Hargrove. They spoke of a gold claim in the Bighorns, a map sketched in fading ink, and regrets for abandoning his family. "I left to find wealth for you," one read, "but found only loneliness." A locket with a faded photograph of 3 girls accompanied the letters, their faces eerily similar to Clara, Ruth, and Sadie. Orville brought the find to the women. Clara's hands trembled as she read. "This can't be," she whispered. "We ain't kin by blood." Ruth's eyes glistened. "Hargrove took me in when I was a girl, before my marriage. Said I was like a daughter. Never mentioned others." Sadie clutched the locket. "I was left at an orphanage. They said my pa was a prospector. Could it be?" The revelation shook them. Were they Hargrove's daughters, scattered by fate and reunited by chance? The map hinted at a claim worth thousands, but it was deep in Blackfoot territory, dangerous and uncharted. Orville saw opportunity, not just in gold, but in the bond forming between them. "We could find it," he said. "Together." The women hesitated. Clara, ever practical, worried about the risk. Ruth saw it as a chance to honor Hargrove's memory. Sadie, yearning for roots, was eager. They agreed, but only if they prepared thoroughly. Orville sold goods in Bitter Creek to fund supplies, horses, rifles, a sturdy wagon. Clara mapped their route, Ruth packed provisions, and Sadie crafted pouches for their gear. The journey was grueling, through rocky passes and howling winds. They faced a flash flood that nearly swept the wagon away, Orville and Clara hauling it free while Ruth and Sadie secured the horses. One night, a Blackfoot scouting party confronted them, but Orville's quick tongue and a gift of tobacco averted bloodshed. Clara's sharp aim with a rifle drove off a cougar stalking their camp, earning Ruth's grudging respect. At the claim site, a narrow canyon glittered with quartz, but the gold was sparse, long picked over. Disappointment hung heavy, but the true treasure emerged in their shared struggle. Clara admitted her fear of trusting again, Ruth shared her guilt over fleeing her past, Sadie spoke of her longing for family. Orville, usually guarded, confessed his own loneliness, the road his only constant. "This house, you 3, it's more than I ever figured on," he said, voice thick. Back at the house, they decided to stay together. Orville built a trading post beside the house, its shelves stocked with goods and Sadie's handiwork. Clara taught local children, Ruth fed travelers, and the house became a hub of life. The locket sat on the mantel, a symbol of their unlikely family. Years later, in 1885, Orville looked out from the porch, now sturdy and painted, at Clara laughing with Sadie over a quilt, Ruth stirring a pot for the evening's guests. The dollar he'd spent hadn't bought a house. It had bought a home, a family, a second chance. The frontier, wild and unforgiving, had taught him that destiny often arrives in the guise of coincidence, and the best deals are the ones that surprise you most.